Getting things shipped to Mexico is not easy, nor is it cheap. Hence the main reason we bought a car in Virginia, to make a trip to Defender Marine, fill it up, and drive it all the way back to our home in Puerto Penasco, Mexico. Here's the journey I took. We are Liz and Rui, sailing on a 1982 Cal 39. Join us each week as we sail into the unknown and see what amazing things can happen when we let go of the mustn'ts and believe in the power of adventure. It's pretty early in the morning. It's not too early. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning, and the great adventure begins. So picked up my last Timmy's, got a nice croissant, and heading back to the boat. So first stop is Defender Marine, which is hopefully be there in about 9 hours, and can do my little shopping spree. And we carry on. All right, let's get this trip started. Yeah, cheers. I decided something fun I would try would be to take a picture in front of every state sign I passed by. New York didn't have a welcome sign when I crossed the border from Canada, so that one was missed. And the signs in the east aren't nearly as beautiful as the ones were as I drove further west. Alright, so I finally made it to Defender after, I don't know how many hours, maybe 8.5, 9. But I'm here and gonna go on a shopping spree. Defender Marine is a well-known shop in the US for having some of the best prices. If you're able to go to their main shop in Connecticut, it's a big warehouse and is stocked with everything you might need on your boat. So one-stop shopping. Yeah. We are doing a major refit on It's the Truth, and a lot of paint will be involved. Unfortunately, I just missed a big sale they had, so they're out of the topside paint we wanted. But they will ship it for free to anywhere in the US. So it'll be easy for me to pick up in Arizona once I'm back at the boat. As well.
A barrier coat? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One. Two. And then we're going to have 3 Trinidads. And we'll go with these 2.
The famous saying for boats was true here. Bring out another 1,000. Or 2. I got on the road again, on my way to visit an old friend for dinner before stopping off in Pennsylvania to rest for the night. Pennsylvania is a pretty big state to drive across, but I finally made it to Ohio, where I would go stay with my friend Anna, who I hadn't seen for years, and her husband, who I hadn't met yet, as I was in Panama for their wedding. As I made my way across the Midwest, my mission of taking photos of the state welcome signs was failing. Not because I don't like states that begin with I, but Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa were all missed due to weather or it being dark. I did take a break at the Great Mississippi River to grab a photo, although the river wasn't so mighty where I crossed it. Still a nice place to stretch my legs. Alright, so it's a little update since Defender. Got out of there pretty late, kept the store open, so kind of got out of there and got going because I didn't video leaving Defender, but it was pretty awesome. The people there are amazing and got most of everything I needed. Some things I'll have to get shipped to us, but majority I got in the car. And since then, I stopped at my friend Anna's last night, just outside of Columbus, Ohio, and then carried on my way this morning. I left about 6 a.m. again this morning, and just made it to the Great Mississippi River. So I'll show you guys I mean, it doesn't look that great, I guess, in this video. But yeah, this feels like kind of the halfway point for me, driving across the country. But yeah, just stoked to finally be here, and I have about 4.5 more hours to go today, and gonna stop tonight in Omaha, Nebraska. So just almost at the state lines between Illinois and Iowa. So making my way, but it's good to get out and stretch around, so that's why I need to get out of the car and walk around, and it looks like a nice place to be.
Iowa is where the cornfields began to take over the views off the road. Quite literally, for miles, all one can see is cornfields. Cornfields, cornfields, cornfields. Amongst these cornfields were also a lot of wind turbines. It seems like all the farms are subsidized by the government to have them. I stayed overnight in Omaha, which to my surprise seemed like a pleasant little city. The next day, I started my trek across Nebraska. I had some extra time on my hands to get to my brother's house just outside Boulder, Colorado, so I took some detours. Literally, as far as the eye and the drone can see, it's all cornfields. But it was amazing to see from the drone's point of view, rather than just on the interstate. It was freezing though, and so soon jumped back into the car to carry on. It was fun to take some of the side roads. It doesn't seem much is paved out here. It made me feel as if I was in an Old West movie, which leads me to my next stop.
Alright, well, taking my second stop of the day here in Nebraska, and growing up with horses, had to stop at the Pony Express Museum, so gonna go check it out. But it's a super cute little town here. I think we're in Gothenburg, Nebraska. Just went to a little coffee shop called the Lasso Espresso. Got a shirt. But yeah, excited to go check out this little Pony Express stop. Okay, so
But it was originally an exchange station, and again, that's where the riders changed horses.
okay.
So
But
this here was?
this building was.
Yeah.
But actually, the building preceded the Pony Express.
Okay.
It was actually built in 1854.
Wow.
And it was a fur trading post
Oh,
originally.
okay. With what kind of fur? Like,
Well, like the Indians would be trading pelts to the businessmen or the merchants that would be trading them cloth and
Right.
knives and
Gotcha.
things of that nature. So the types of fur was probably your buffalo, your coyotes,
Yeah.
your wolves, that type of.
okay.
And so it was used in that capacity originally.
All right.
Then the Overland Freight Company used it for a couple years as a freight stop.
Okay.
Then the Pony Express was kind of the third owners, you might say,
Gotcha.
and they were only in business a short period of time, just 18 months,
The whole Pony Express? Oh, I
Mhm.
didn't realize it was that short. Okay.
and that's almost by design because actually the telegraph was being built from both the East Coast and the West Coast at that time, and that was the completion of the telegraph is what made the Pony Express somewhat obsolete in
Right.
regards to what they were doing. The Pony Express actually is somewhat an outgrowth of the geopolitical times prior to the Civil War.
Okay. Right.
If you think back to Civil War being in 1860 to 1865,
Right.
prior to 1860, all the mail service to the West Coast went through Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a general feeling as the tensions rose between the states that the what we call the union officials were going to lose that southern route
Right.
because of its proximity to Texas and Oklahoma and things like that.
Okay, yeah.
So basically what happened, the two big established states on the West Coast, California and Oregon, were union states.
Right.
And so there was a real fear that during those difficult times that they didn't want to lose communication with those states.
Right.
So this concept of a northern route came into being.
Gotcha.
The actual, it went to Congress to fund it.
Mm-hmm.
The southern representatives filibustered it.
Yeah.
It never got passed.
Right.
So the union officials somewhat turned to the business community. And there happened to be three very wealthy businessmen in St. Joe, Missouri,
Okay.
that had made a lots of money running freight lines into the frontier, into places like Salt Lake City, Denver,
Right.
even Santa Fe.
Okay.
So they knew the northern route because
Yeah.
that's where their freight trains were going through.
Right.
And they had at earlier times actually played with the idea of a messenger service on the northern route. And so it was somewhat a situation where the idea and the need and everything came together.
Yeah. So the freight trains were already established. So why would they need the horses to transport the mail?
Speed.
Oh, the horses were faster than the trains.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just an example, when the southern route, which basically was the Bitterfield's freight or stagecoach line,
Mm-hmm.
32 days is what it took from St. Joe to Sacramento.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Using the Pony Express concept, this relay concept, they did it in 10 days,
Whoa.
day in and day out.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
So there was a general feeling that, again, with maybe the difficulties of the Civil War and the things that came about because of it, they wanted that communication.
Yeah. Exactly. Of course.
And so that's why, even though this Pony Express only lasted for 18 months, it filled that void before the telegraph was
Yeah.
completed.
Oh.
So these businessmen, we would call them venture capitalists today.
Yeah.
And basically because they went in knowing they could lose money,
Mm-hmm.
and they did lose money because the overhead of the number of horses they needed, what they
Right.
paid their riders, their other employees.
I mean, do you know how many horses were used?
Yep. There's 400 horses in the system.
Wow.
There's about 100 to 110 riders.
Uh-huh.
There's probably a similar number of other employees that man these stations.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of overhead
Yeah, I can imagine.
in the system. But it's kind of interesting because a lot of people think of the Pony Express as being a mail service.
Yeah, exactly.
It actually was a message service, because if you look at the saddle behind you that's on display there,
Yeah.
those pouches, I mean that is a actual replica, and those pouches were locked in St. Joe and unlocked in Sacramento.
Oh, right. So yeah, you couldn't. The riders, nobody could open them until.
That was the extent of the mail they carried.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there's no way you're going to carry enough mail,
No, exactly. For every.
no matter
person.
what you charge,
Right. Yeah.
to make that a profitable operation.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the businessmen, being businessmen, they were trying to position themselves for future government contracts. And so Pony Express was a lost leader, is really what it was.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
But when it went out of operation, it was a situation where they still had a lot of assets. I mean, their horses
Yeah.
were worth a lot.
Exactly.
The buildings were worth a lot. I mean, they sold this building, for example, to Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo used it as a stage stop.
Right.
So just like you see on your westerns on TV where the stagecoach pulls in and they change horses and passengers get out to stretch their legs
Yeah.
and get a cool drink of water.
This is where it was.
This served in that capacity.
Oh, wow.
So from the 1850s through the 1870s, it was right on the front doorstep of a lot of frontier history.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, that was an amazing stop. Got to learn a lot of history, and not just about the Pony Express, but about a lot of Nebraska. And Alan in there was just so generous with all of his information. It was just really fun to listen to him and to learn. And now I'm like, okay, now I got to read more about this. But yeah, very, very happy I stopped here. So I'm gonna carry on now and hopefully stop again somewhere else in a few hours. But the road trip continues.
I was starting to really like Nebraska, and the lovely guy inside the museum, Alan, taught me so much more about the history of Nebraska. This was starting to surprise me. Join me next week as I carry on driving across this massive country, make a few more wonderful stops, and finally make it home to my own bed on It's the Truth in Puerto Penasco. Until next time, cheers!